And the first thing we looked at the very, very beginning of the series was something, well, it wasn't that important to our lives, but it's an interesting discussion and debate. And it was all about whether or not 2020 was the beginning or ending of a decade. And I don't know if you thought anything more about that, if you've come to a better conclusion, but here's where I landed, because this is what I think about. We have 300 and some days to figure it out, right? We have more time to figure out whether it's the beginning or the ending. And then we quickly, in part one, move to something a lot more important, right? It's the beginning of the year, and all of us have our, new year, the things that we're going to's, right? The list of things where you encounter a new year, maybe a new decade, and you're like, hey, this year is going to be the new me. I'm going to change some things. I'm going to implement some things. I'm going to commit to some things, right? It's all of those I'm going to's. And then we went from there, and I asked this question. What happens by the third week of January? And what's interesting, right? That question in part one felt one way, but guess where we are now? Past the third week of January. How are you doing with your commitments? How are you doing with your New Year's resolutions? Some of you are hating me right now because you've become distracted and you've become disillusioned. Some of you have deserted some or all of your resolutions. 3 weeks ago, you're like, I'm all in, and now you're like, oh, Chris brought it back. Some of you are just feeling defeated thanks to me right now. But isn't it amazing how quickly January goes by? Right? January's almost done. February is coming for some of you. Some of you are really frustrating me right now because you're posting on social media the how many days until spring countdown clock. Is that you? I'm like, we still have February. It's still cold, right? Snow's still coming. We're not close to spring at all. We bought for our girls for Christmas a dog. We got that dog several weeks ago. That dog is a puppy, and some of you are so encouraging. You've been telling us all the horrible things about having a puppy. Thank you for that, by the way. And our puppy is all puppy, and I find myself right now at midnight taking the dog out pots because you've got to take puppies out all the time. And I grab my girls' boots. They look lovely on me. I'm wearing shorts and a sweatshirt with the dog at midnight at 10 degrees saying, go pots, go pots, go pots, go pots. Just imagine that. That's what I do at midnight. What are you doing at midnight? Yeah. Think about me as you're all cozy in your bed. And I think to myself, why didn't we wait until summer to get a puppy? But think about just how quickly time goes. It's just clicking by, another year's clicking by. And you see this whole series, as we kicked off this new year, has all been focused around one thing. It's you are the biggest obstacle in your path. It's what all in's all about. We as human beings want to focus on everyone else. Why our life is difficult. We want to point our fingers at every single person and every situation. Like, my life is like it is because of. But in reality, and we know this within us, the reality. Because the key word here is biggest. I'm not saying there's not other obstacles. But at the end of the day, it's our decisions that impact our life. It's our thought processes that impact our life. It's our emotions, it's our feelings, it's us. Like, we are our biggest obstacle in our path. So all in has all been about, let's just focus on ourselves for this beginning of 2020, and let's just figure out what we need to become to have the best year ever. Well, as we bring this series to a close, we're going to look at one last insight. And this last insight, again, is all about you. About you focusing on you, of who you need to become. And we're going to find that insight in this, what we call a book of the Bible. It's a letter called Hebrews. In this letter, it's interesting, we're not sure who exactly is the author. And there's some really intelligent people that they have their kind of insights on who they think wrote this letter. But We're not really sure who wrote Hebrews. What we do know is written to Jewish Christians living in the country of Italy. And that's an interesting insight because you have to get to the very, very end part of this letter. And all of a sudden, you just find this little mention that goes, this is who the author was writing to, Jewish Christians in Italy. But this insight, it's such a compact, succinct insight that I just think if you actually put this insight into motion, it's going to help you, empower you, direct you to have the best 2020 ever. So the author jumps in and says, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses. And right before this insight, the author gives us this long list, this great cloud of witnesses, this list of people, names of people that lived great lives for God, people that walked great paths of faith. But here's the thing about this great list of witnesses. They're people like you and me, messy, imperfect, had their doubts, had their questions, had their uncertainties. They didn't have it all together, but what they were committed to is following God in their journey. It's why I love the story about what God is doing in Ridgeway. A group of people like you, people like me, that said yes to God. A group of people that said, we want to be the church in our local community. A group of people that said, you know what? We want to be a bright light. What can we do to love people by serving people to Jesus? What can we do? Just normal people that say, okay, God, we're all in. And the author's like, hey, you're surrounded by this great cloud of witnesses. Read about their stories. Help them encourage you. And as I was thinking about this week, right, the question that kind of crept into my spirit was this. Who are you surrounded by? When you think about your inner circle, the people you've chosen to pull closest to you. And let me preface about this. This is important. Okay? I'm talking about the inner circle, the people you go to seek wisdom, the people you go to when you're encountering something difficult, the people you go to that you lean on, the people that you go to because you know they might not say the easiest thing, but they're going to say the wise thing. The people in your inner circle. There's a business leader that wrote about this, and they just, maybe you've heard this statement before, but they just said that we are the sum of the 5 people closest to us. The 5 people closest to you. And that's why it's important when you think through this question, who you're surrounded by. I'm talking about the 5 people that you've chosen to pull close to you. I'm not talking about the family members that you're stuck with. Right? I'm talking about your inner circle. Who are the 5 people closest to you? Did you choose for them to be close to you? Did you allow just people to infiltrate that inner circle? Maybe for you right now, you just need to ignore me and you need to start writing down 5 names. Because you have 5 people in your inner circle. The question is, should they be there? In our life group last week, we were looking at the discussion guide. We have discussion guides that attach to every message throughout every series we have. And so our life group was going through the discussion guide, and part 3 in the series was all about fear, and we kind of I wrapped around fear this 2-word question. It's the what ifs. And what ifs is just always about fear. It's all the what ifs of tomorrow and the next day. And so that was part 3. And so in our life group, we're discussing these what ifs, these fears. And as our discussion was going, someone actually gave a group of people the title, the what ifers. Do you have what ifers in your life? No matter what you say, no matter what you do, they what if everything. Again, there's a difference between a what-ifer and someone giving you wise counsel. And just when I said that, you definitely put someone in a box. I mean, do you have what-ifers in your inner circle? Have you allowed what-ifers? At every turn, they're just filling you with fear. Not wise counsel, fear. Who else is in your inner circle? Do you have a gossiper in your inner circle? You know the thing about gossipers? They come to you talking about everyone else, and do you know what they do when they leave you? They talk about you to everyone else. I'm just telling you. If you have someone that every time you're around that person, they're talking about everyone else, I promise you, guess what they're doing about you? And you've allowed them into your inner circle. I'm very optimistic by nature. And when I say optimistic by nature, I'm not talking about the optimists that just stick their head in the sand and they just ignore reality. I'm not talking about that optimist. I'm just saying my personality is such that no matter how big the obstacle is, let's go for it. I'm the person when I hear someone share a dream with me, I'm like, yeah, let's conquer that. How do we go about doing that? I'm the person that says, yeah, we might fail. We might fail, but hey, we're gonna learn and we're gonna have fun by trying it. If you don't know, right? If you don't try, you will never succeed in life. And I love to surround myself with people that say, let's go for it. Let's go for it. My youngest had the opportunity to go skiing for the very, very first time, snow skiing. And I was texting her as she was on the bus up to the ski slopes, and I was just trying to give her some encouragement. And I gave her 2 pieces of great dad encouragement / advice. The first one I think all of you would agree with. The second one, probably most moms won't agree with me and the rest of you might not, right? My first piece of advice to my daughter was, hey, when you get there, make sure you say yes to ski school. They'll teach you how to ski. Say yes to that, right? You would all say, yeah, that's good dad advice. My second piece of insight, wisdom, was this. And make sure, Claire, that you go on a black diamond. I think that's great advice. I followed up with, by the way, just make sure you learn how to fall. Because the first time I went skiing, I actually skipped. I was a freshman in high school. I skipped the ski school because I didn't need that. See, I at least gave her that advice. And me and my friends looked at the mountain map and we're like, Black Diamond looks fun. We went to the very top and our first run down was Black Diamond. And guess what? We made it down to the bottom, alive. We did. It took us a while. I think we rolled down most of the hill. But right, we made it. But what I was telling my daughters, like, just go for it. Go for it. Again, learn how to fall. That's wisdom. But just go for it. Come on, have some fun. Engage it. You're going to learn. You're going to learn. Go for it. I just have chosen to surround myself. The question is this. I'm not saying you should surround yourself with people like me. Some of you are like, never. But I'm just saying, know you. The question is, who are you surrounded by? Who have you allowed into your inner circle? Who are the 5 people? You have 5 that are closest to you. The question is, should they be in your inner circle? You control that. You make that decision. Who are they? And the author says, let us throw off. And now the author's going to get into this imagery of athletic competition, especially running. And remember the background to all of this. I mean, this letter, again, being addressed to Jewish Christians in Italy, right? The Greco-Roman world loved their sports, the Olympics and the Isthmian Games and all the other games, right? They loved their sports. And so everyone would have understood this statement, let us throw off, because it's a literal statement talking about like when runners were running during the ancient Greco-Roman games, they would literally throw off everything. So if you're in a running race, they would throw off everything. What do I mean by everything? They would run, I'm going to make this PG, they would run in their birthday suit. A little awkward. Can you imagine watching the Olympics now if that was happening, right? Awkward. But 2,000 years ago, that's how they would literally throw off all of their clothing to make themselves as light as possible so they could run as fast and as far as possible. So this image, they would all have understood. Like when they said throw off everything, they understood that concept. Let's throw off everything that hinders. What's hindering you right now? What's weighing you down? What's confining you right now? Is God stirring a dream within you? But, you just don't have time. My question is, I mean, we all need more time, don't we? I mean, whatever stage in life, whatever's going on, like, we all need more time. The question is, what are you doing with time that's hindering you? Is there just some stuff you should stop doing so that you have time for the dream that God has wired within you? What's hindering you? What's wasting that time? What's hindering you? Is social media hindering you? Do you find yourself not only wasting time, but as you're flipping aimlessly through social media, you find your mind going to places like, man, I wish I could go on a vacation like that. I wish I could afford a vacation like that. I wish I had a husband. I wish I had a wife that loved me like that picture. I wish I had a job like that. I wish my kids were, do you find yourself spending endless time comparing your life to people's lives captured by images on social media? Is that hindering you? I mean, this next example, I just want to be very, very careful, okay? I want to be very careful so you really hear what I'm saying. Because what I'm going to say could hit a nerve, but remember, there's two extremes of what I'm going to say. The first one is this. Remember, as Christ followers, we love everyone. That's important for you to hold on before I say what I'm going to say. The second thought I would say to you before I say what I'm going to say is, I don't mean literally. So here's my question. Who do you need to throw off? Again, not literally, that would be awkward if you just went around throwing people. And remember, we're called to love first. What I'm meaning is, who have you allowed in your inner circle that you need to move out of that inner circle? And you still can love everyone, but not allow everyone into your inner circle. You're called to love everyone, but that doesn't mean that they're part of your inner five. Who do you need to move out of your inner circle to make room for the right people in your inner circle? Have you ever just spent time thinking about that? Because right now, maybe there's a name that's creeping within your mind, and you're like, yeah. I've allowed that person, those people close, and they're not helping me become who God has designed me to be. Everything that hinders. And the sin that so easily entangles. What sin has you ensnared right now? What sin? Have you gone from having a casual drink with friends to then drinking every night to now all you can think about is having a drink? Have you gone from just searching on the web and buying things on the web because it's such a great resource, they ship right to your door, to now late at night or when no one else is around, you find yourself searching for other things that you shouldn't be looking at on the web? What's sin? Instead of using your words to encourage and build people up, are you just constantly talking about people when they're not there, tearing them down? What sin has you ensnared? And the author says, throw it off. Get rid of it. Why? Why is this so important? Well, that's what the author says next. Let us run. That there's a race. The author doesn't say, and let us meander, or let us stroll, or let us skip, or let us gallop. The author's like, come on, lace up your shoes. Let's go. Let's run at pace. You have one life. Let's go for it. Are you running through life? Are you just meandering through life? Are you just strolling through life? And the author's like, hey, Christ followers, come on. There's a race being run. He's like, hey, let us run with perseverance. Because this race marked out for us is difficult. Perseverance has to be attached. Beginning of January, as I was looking at 2020, and I was kind of laying out kind of what I wanted to do this year, one of the things that over the years, I have felt like my best years has been when I have races scheduled, like literal races scheduled. And I've done half marathons, full marathons, half Ironmans. Like My rhythm of my life is best. My eating rhythm, my rest rhythm, my training rhythm, my work rhythm, my family rhythm, when I have it structured with a race attached to it. It's just how I operate. And coming in this year, I've just had way too many years of excuses. And so I did something. Some of you will understand this decision. Not only did I say, I'm going to do a marathon this year, I opened up my web browser, I typed in a URL, I clicked on register, and I paid for the Buffalo Marathon. Paid for it. That's different than saying I'm going to. Like, it was a moment when I clicked, yes. I'm like, I'm all in. I told my wife, I'm like, hey, I just did this Memorial Day weekend. And now, this weekend, I'm sharing this fact with thousands of people. Like, I'm all in, committed. And I'm just going to tell you, because I've done this journey many, many times before. This word perseverance is the word. There's going to be days where I'm going to look at my training plan. I'm not going to want to run. There's going to be days where I lace up my shoes and it's going to take all of me just to hit the pavement. There's going to be days where I'm on long runs thinking to myself, why did I sign up? Why am I doing this? There's going to be days where I'm not going to think that I'm going to be able to complete it. There's going to be days where I'm going to say to myself, Chris, did you really tell everyone you're going to do that? Did you commit at that level? Yes, Chris, you did that. There's going to be days. I'm just going to tell you, there's going to be days where I'm not going to want to run. And there's going to be moments over that 26.2 miles, and 0.2 matters in a marathon. There's going to be moments over that race where I'm going to think to myself, why did I get myself into it? Because there hasn't been one race I haven't had that thought. But it's about perseverance. Do you realize? Don't judge me on this. Well, you can judge me. You're going to. Do you realize? I'm just being real. Do you realize there's weekends I don't want to preach? Don't want to. Do you know there's weekends where I get in the car and it takes everything within me just to get to the church? Do you know there's weekends where I'm like, God, I'm going to be sick. I'm just going to send a text message to some unlucky staff member and say, good luck, here's my notes. Do you know there's weekends where I'm just like, God, It's real. But then I say to God, this weekend, I don't have it in me. But God, you do. God, this weekend, I don't have the emotion, but God, I'm just going to trust that you're going to give me what I need. God, mentally, I'm not here, but God, I'm going to trust that you're going to give me what I need to get through yet another weekend. You see, that's perseverance. It's showing up when you don't feel like it. So many times we attach so much feeling to a race called life, and I'm just telling you, feeling won't get you to a finish line. Perseverance does. Say, no matter what happens, no matter what I feel like, no matter my emotional makeup, I'm going to be all in. I tell you, Christ followers, listen to this. Your journey of faith, if it's tethered to feeling, you will fail. It's all about perseverance, saying no matter what. And there's days I don't feel like it, but God, here's what I understand. Jesus modeled for us moments of not feeling like it. That's why he said to God, God, I don't want to be nailed to a cross. I don't feel like I want to do that, but not my will, but your will be done. That's why the author says, so fix your eyes on Jesus. That's how we can run with perseverance. That's how we get through the difficult times. Say, okay, Jesus, you did a whole lot of things you didn't want to do, but yet you did them. I'm just going to fix my eyes on you. Which leads to this question. How do you fix your eyes on Jesus? Right? That's the question. So what does that look like? So I'm going to give, if you've gone to church at any length of time, this is a classic churchy answer, right? How do you fix your eyes on Jesus? Go to church, read your Bible, and pray. I just got an A+ on the churchy answer list. But it's true. But here's what happens with this list. And this is why the fixing your eyes is such an important part. You're either going to fix your eyes on this list or you're You're to fix your eyes on yourself. And here's what's dangerous about this list. It's really easy to say, well, I'm a Christian. I do these things. And the entire time, your eyes aren't fixed on Jesus, they're fixed on yourself. It looks like this. When you pray, put a percentage. How much of your time is praying about your needs, your issues, you, compared to praying about other people? Really. One of the prayers that I do my best to say constantly is a simple prayer. God, today, help me see what you see. God, help me to see what you see. As you walk into Walmart or Target or the grocery store, like, God, just help me see what you see. As you walk into work, God, just help me to see what you see. As you're pumping gas, God, help me to see what you see. At a family gathering, God, help me to see what you see. You see that prayer? I'm just going to tell you, the more you pray that simple line, God, I want to see what you see. I want to see what breaks your heart. I want to see what grieves you. God, I want to see the needs of the people around you. God, I'm going to get my eyes off of me. God, you know my issues. You know my fears. You know my unknowns. You know my hurt. You know all of the things I'm dealing with in my life. God, you know that because I've told you that. But God, I want to get my eyes off of me. I want to get my eyes on you. And God, I want to see what you see. And when you start fixing your eyes on Jesus, you start seeing what Jesus sees. The Bible. So many Christ followers, they read the Bible. Maybe this is you. They read the Bible to consume knowledge. Do you realize the Bible was never written for us to be smarter? The Bible wasn't written so we could have more knowledge. Do you know the purpose of the Bible? It's to know the heart of God, to know who God is, to know what breaks God's heart, to know what gives God joy. The Bible is there for us to know God, to get our eyes off ourselves and onto God. And the more we understand God, it will direct our steps. Are you studying the Bible just so you can go, oh, look at that, I'm studying the Bible, I'm going deep? Christ followers, the pursuit isn't deep. That's why Jesus said, follow me. The purpose of the Bible is to put your faith into action, to live a life that's in motion, reflecting Jesus. In church. Are your eyes fixed on Jesus or your eyes fixed on you? Do you find yourself leaving church, saying out loud, saying to yourself, oh yeah, Chris's message, it was okay, but I didn't get anything out of it? Did you find yourself leaving church going, oh yeah, the band's really good, but you know what? I didn't really like those songs. I wish they would have picked other songs. Did you find yourself coming into church going, oh yeah, they had coffee, but it was a little strong, it's a little weak for my taste? Think about it. See, it's so easy. And we don't even notice this, but it's so easy to come into church and all of a sudden our eyes are fixed on ourselves, and we start thinking through all the things that we think church should be. And guess what? The church was never about being consumed. The church was always about a group of Christ followers understanding that they had the good news, a message of hope about Jesus. And when you start walking with people on your spiritual journey, walking with them on their spiritual journey, when you're starting to engage with people that maybe don't believe what you believe, maybe have different questions than you have, maybe aren't sure about God, maybe aren't sure about church, maybe aren't sure about Jesus, and when you're walking with them, it's why we talk about inviting all the time. It's like, go on a journey with someone who maybe doesn't know Jesus. And I'm just telling you, when that happens, you get your eyes off of yourself and you start fixating your eyes on Jesus. And all of a sudden, you start seeing the church like Jesus sees the church. Christ followers. It's about fixing your eyes on Jesus, who is the pioneer and perfecter of your faith. Your faith. Not the person you're married to, not your kids. No. I mean, they got to fix their eyes on Jesus themselves. I'm just saying, your faith, you got to own this yourself. That Jesus is the pioneer going out in front of you. Jesus is the pioneer blazing the trail in front of you. Jesus is the pioneer where you keep your eyes on him because he's out in front of you. And when he's a pioneer, guess what he's doing? Because your faith now is in motion. He's perfecting, he's molding, he's shaping, he's chiseling. It's why week one of this series, right? We looked at Ephesians 2, that we are God's masterpiece, his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to be brand new for purpose, good works. And we define good works, loving people by serving people to Jesus. But it's always to Jesus. And that's why fixing your eyes is so important. And for the joy set before him, he endured the cross. Think about these two tension points. Joy was present before Jesus suffered on the cross. The joy was present even though Jesus knew what he was going to go through. Joy was present even though that Jesus knew the pain, but not only the pain, that he would take on the sin of the world, create separation between him and God the Father. The joy was present even though he was going to go through the most difficult thing anyone could go through. The joy and endurance are just part of the faith journey. That he endured the cross, scorning its shame, sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. See, before you do, you've got to focus on who. And that who you're becoming, always requires doing. It's why Jesus over and over again invited people to follow, to put their faith into action. That whoing requires doing. So let me ask you 3 questions. And I would encourage you to write these down, take a snapshot of the screen. Maybe this week come back to it. But I would hope that you put these questions into motion. What do you need to do to become who God desires you to be? What do you need to do? What do you need to throw off? What's holding you back? What is that thing that's hindering you? What is that sin that's entangling you? It's just time. 2020, come on, it's time. It's been holding you back way too long. What do you need to throw off? Who do you need to surround yourself by? Who? Who's crept into your inner circle and you have allowed them in your inner circle? You own that. You own that. Who do you need to invite into your inner circle? And if you get the right people, I'm telling you, there will be times where they will make you uncomfortable, but we need people in our inner circle that make us uncomfortable. We need people in our inner circle that will speak truth and love. We need wise, godly people that will help direct. We need people to help us get our eyes off of ourselves and fixed on Jesus. To fix our eyes on Jesus. Well, the author does something so interesting. See, all this insight, right, is focused on who? You, me, right? Who we need to become, what we need to do. And then the author turns the corner and says, consider him, Jesus, who endured such opposition from sinners. Jesus, who endured so many different people on the outside attacking him. Consider him. Look at Jesus' life. Look at who attacked him. Look what he had to go through so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. You see, this entire series, right, is about you, who you need to become. But the next series we kick off next week is a series called Courageous Endurance. And we're going to be focused on, well, the who's outside of us, the situations outside of us, the things outside of our control that have impacted our lives. And we're going to follow one person's story. One person's story that said, God, I don't understand why you didn't. We're going to look at one person's story that was just going at it with God, saying, God, I don't understand why you are allowing all this to happen. I don't understand why. Do you have why God moments that you've navigated through? Maybe you're encountering right now. For some of you, you ran away from God because you asked the why God. God, why did you allow this to happen? And the answer, the response, or lack thereof just causes you to say, well, God, why? You say you love me, but why? And we're going to be following one person's story of him having such an honest conversation with God, of something outside of his control. Because all of us understand those moments in life. That's what makes life difficult, is the moments where someone or something else crashes into us and we're like, God, I just don't know. And you cry out to God, and maybe, just maybe, that answer isn't the answer you were wanting. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entails. And let's run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. For the joy set before, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and he sat down at the right hand, the throne of God, the Father. And consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary or lose